So, far away Nisha, why did you pick today's article to turn into a video?
I don't know, I thought it'd be really interesting to talk about really creepy guys staring at beautiful women.
Oh yeah, let's do that. It is often said that the mythical Greek figure Helen of Troy was so insanely hot that a single flutter of her eyelashes could send 1,000 ships to do her bidding. Her feat matched outside the realm of myth by a Swedish girl called, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Pilt Carin Ersdotter, a lady who once stopped an entire street's worth of traffic just by being so insanely fuckable people couldn't deal.
So, Karl, we know where this lady was born.
Yes.
But when exactly was she born?
Well, Pilt Carin Ersdotter, again, hope I'm pronouncing that one correctly, was born in the early 19th century, and she had a remarkably humble upbringing for a lady who would come to be known as the most beautiful girl in Europe, if not the entire fucking world. And she was a milkmaid by trade, and it's likely she would have spent her entire life toiling away in obscurity in the small Swedish county of Dalarna, if not for a strange tradition in Sweden back then where milkmaids would go to Stockholm to guide boats down a river. And before you ask Nisha, no, I don't know why they did that, but I know that they did that, and that's how this lady came to the attention of the public.
Okay, it just seems a bit random.
It is a bit random, but hey, I guess people were bored back then, so we need people to guide boats. Who should do it? I know, the milkmaids. Well, the tale has a twist in it because when Ersdotter arrived in Stockholm, she was deemed to be too frail for the apparently back-breaking task of guiding boats down a river by pointing in the direction they should go, and was instead asked to sell milk in the nation's capital.
All right, so what do you mean she was very frail?
Well, apparently, Ersdotter had a very slight and slender build, which led to officials saying she is not strong enough for the task of guiding boats. Instead, she must sell milk. And it's like, probably comes as no surprise that this very slight build and her incredibly unusually attractive features, which we'll get to in a moment, which no doubt resulted in her coming to the attention of the public, who very quickly became enamoured with her appearance.
So do we actually know what Ersdotter looked like?
Unfortunately, we don't, and the only thing we really have to go on are vague-ish statements about her appearance and people who met her. And these statements are annoyingly just not all that descriptive, and they just say things like, oh, she's quite beautiful, quite slender, quite slim. But one thing that is clear is that she had an unnaturally clear complexion and apparently flawless perfect skin, the reasons for which we can discuss in a moment. But what we do know is that she was so beautiful that she found it almost impossible to sell milk due to the sheer amount of people who would stand around and just gawk at her.
Oh God.
Yeah, already.
Oh, yeah.
You can just start, I don't know, like Nisha, as a woman, I can tell you're starting to feel uncomfortable at what we're talking about because this poor woman just tried to do her job and creepy, weird men are just looking at her going, she's so pretty. Why is she a milkmaid? Do you want to come home with me? Because yes, Ersdotter found herself being propositioned by endless waves of men, up to and including, according to one possibly equivocal story, the Crown Prince of Sweden, who offered her a place in his bed, to which Ersdotter responded, nah, either buy some milk or fuck off. Making her potentially one of the earliest women we're aware of to tell a creepy guy to do one. As a lady who's lived and being outside, I'm guessing at some point you've been approached by a creepy man or a man who just won't take no for an answer. Have you ever had the opportunity to tell a man to do one?
I just kind of look at them disgustingly and walk off.
There it is. Because people would I'm speaking about a very British concept here. So there's a concept in Britain known as do one. And the term do one is very British, as explained. It basically means f*** off, but it's a more polite way of saying that. And there are numerous variations on it, but my favourite has to be when creepy guys who won't take a hint ask a girl for their phone number, and the girl responds, okay, yeah, sure. And they go, what's your number? So it's 0121 do one. I love that.
That's amazing.
I've seen someone tell a guy that in person, and the guy got so mad. And Ersdotter was having fucking none of this shit. And as mentioned, she told every man who approached her to just leave her the fuck alone, up to and including apparently the Crown Prince of Sweden. And the story behind that is that the Crown Prince of Sweden heard there's this remarkably beautiful woman, like an unnaturally beautiful woman, perhaps the most beautiful woman in all of Europe, if not the world, in downtown Stockholm selling milk. And the Crown Prince is like, I want to see what this is all about. And he snuck down in disguise and propositioned Ersdotter, to which Ersdotter responded, either buy some milk or go away. And the prince was really taken aback and just left. But one of my favourite subgenres of jokes is responses to bad pickup lines. Like, there's always like those really cheesy pickup lines that men use, like, oh, how do you like your eggs in the morning? There's like a subgenre of jokes that are just withering put-downs in response to lines like that. So for example, like, oh, how do you like your eggs in the morning? The woman responds, unfertilised. It's like, oh, it's so good. I fucking love that, it's great. The best one that I've heard, because it's the worst, and I can confirm, I've seen this said in real life, and the guy didn't get a date, but the girl did spend the rest of the evening on his arm, and he went up to the girl and went, excuse me, is your dad in prison? And she looked back and went, no. And he responded, that's funny, because if I was your dad, I'd be in prison.
I've heard that before.
And it's like, oh, I'm cringing. So chronic, and the girl laughed. So it's the worst one I've ever heard, but it's also simultaneously the best one because everyone's response to it is exactly the same. Oh, it's so bad. Anyway, Ersdotter.
If we're bringing it back to Ersdotter, the title of this article mentions that she got arrested. So what happened there?
Well, as you might imagine, traffic around the area Ersdotter was selling milk slowed basically to a complete halt due to the sheer amount of people who were gathered around just staring at her face, not buying milk, much to Ersdotter's annoyance. And according to historical sources, like the crowds gathered around her got so bad that she genuinely started to fear for her safety and had to run away and hide in some dude's house, which only caused the crowds to get more animated, resulting in traffic becoming even more blocked, which ended up with the police turning up and being like, the fuck is going on here? Why is nothing moving? To which everyone responded, well, it's her fault over there. And Ersdotter got arrested and charged with the crime of, I shit you not, being too good looking.
You know.
I never thought that Zoolander bit of it's not a crime to be really, really ridiculously good looking would be a real thing, and yet here we are discussing it in a video.
It is, yep. It actually exists.
Is Zoolander secretly the most top tier comedy ever just for how fucking stupid it is?
Isn't that the one with the David Bowie cameo?
It is, yeah, the best David Bowie cameo ever.
All right, who's gonna call this sucker?
If nobody has any objections, I believe I might be of service.
The thing I like about that film, though, is they have the running B plot that being really handsome is actually detrimental. And they have the titular Zoolander going, oh, it's really hard for people to take me seriously. I'm so good looking that no one wants to hear what I have to say. And they have the bit where he tries to find his roots and goes back to coal mine, but he's in the coal mine like a fucking catwalk.
Isn't that the one also where he does the blue steel?
Yes, and that's what I fucking love about that film, because for some reason in that universe, being handsome is a superpower, because for Zoolander, with nothing but a look, is able to stop a knife in midair.
I just like how the blue steel made it into other films, like in Tangled, or Flynn Rider does the blue steel to Rapunzel.
No, it doesn't work. To bring it back to Ersdotter, you might be thinking, well, that's kind of shitty. It's not her fault traffic stopped. It's weird, creepy men's fault. And to the judge presiding over that case's credit, he did eventually decide, this is a fucking stupid court case. It is not a crime to be incredibly, distractingly good looking. It's other people's fault if they can't deal with it. I'm letting you off the hook. And Ersdotter was very thankful. And this court case, though, only served to increase her fame, and she was able to parlay the minor amount of notoriety she got as a result of that court case and just the rumours and stories about how impossibly beautiful she was into a side hustle as a travelling curiosity where she would, and I am not making this up, just sit at the parties of noble people. So noble people could just look and go, wow, she is pretty.
They just look at her. That's all they do, just
Yeah.
sit and look at her.
They gave her money to sit at their parties so people could marvel at how attractive she was.
Wow.
And just how impossibly, perfect her features were and unblemished her skin. And that can bring us back to something I mentioned earlier, where her complexion was notably flawless, which was something people back then were astounded by. And the reason that was so impressive is because back then there was this thing known as smallpox, a horrible, debilitating, disfiguring disease that left people who survived it just with horrible, unsightly scars. But Ersdotter, owing to her being a milkmaid, was exposed to something known as cowpox. And I'm sure people remember from school about the history of vaccinations that cowpox is basically just smallpox light. And if you get cowpox and recover from it, cowpox being a much less dangerous, debilitating, disfiguring disease, you are basically immune to smallpox. And as a result of catching cowpox during her career as a milkmaid, Ersdotter did not suffer any of the unsightly smallpox scars present on basically every member of society at that point in time, which meant that her skin was flawless and radiant, which people just found astounding, which coupled with her very slight, slender figure and her, apparently just very naturally beautiful features allowed her to just sit in the courts of noble people and get paid for the privilege. But the best thing about Ersdotter, though, is that she didn't give a fuck. And she got as much money as she could doing this and then just f***ed off back home.
Why not?
Because she couldn't be arsed with, the pressure or the hassle of people constantly coming up to her and talking to her or propositioning her or asking her to marry her. She's like, no, f*** it, I'm going home and chilling with some cows. And you know what? Big f***ing mood.
Big f***ing mood.
Oh, God, that's terrible. We're ending on that. So far away, Nisha, since the topic of today's video has been in a roundabout way, just ridiculously attractive people, is there any person, living or dead, that you look at and you just go, that person, they're basically flawless? Like, you would have the same reaction that people did back then when they saw Ersdotter.
I really like Jensen Ackles, who's in Supernatural. I don't know if you know what he looks like, but...
I'm aware of Supernatural, yes. He's one of the leading men from that, I guess.
Yeah, he's one of the brothers. But yeah, I really like Jensen
Both
Ackles.
very handsome guys. Like, what is it about him then? What is it that you just can't deal with?
He's just got a really nice chiseled jaw. He's got nice eyes. Just everything.
Alright, because I think I had something similar when it's like Zac Efron.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's got that new TV show at the moment where it's just him just being a nice guy. And there's that really great moment where he starts crying when he eats pasta because he's not had carbs in so long.
So good.
I'm so happy that I'm eating carbs again. I went years without eating carbs.
He's he's so ridiculously good looking, but it was pointed out to me that in every stage of his life, he's just being attractive. Like, in every look he's ever had, he suits it. And he is the ideal man for women of the age that he is at that time.
Yeah.
And it's he's looking at, yeah, you go Zac Efron. And then on the other side, for women, I can't just get over how attractive they are. The features are just so flawless. I think mine isn't always will be Grace Jones. She's very tall, statuesque black lady, but the reason I'm always so taken aback is because she has such sharp, angular features.
Yes.
And she has very piercing eyes and this immaculate, flawless complexion. And I don't even think it's attraction. I'm just astounded by just how unique she looks, because nobody else looks like Grace Jones. She is the only person who looks like that, and she owns that look. And just her confidence and the way she carries herself is also I look at and go, that is an immaculate example of what humanity can achieve. And to close on Nisha, is there any women you look at and just go, how?
Margot Robbie. She's really pretty. I just look at her and think, she can't take a bad photo.
Have you ever seen that thing though where Margot Robbie and the actress Jaime Pressly, where they basically look exactly the same?
I think Jaime Pressly. Hold on, let me have a look.
Yeah, Google Margot Robbie and Jaime Pressly, and then I'll obviously, whoever edits this one, will put a picture of them both behind me right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,